This video is going to be about Gen Z because I was just kind of thinking about it and I was like, I want to make a YouTube video that's like unedited because I've been wanting to do this style for a while, but then I always tell myself that no one will watch, but whatever, it's my YouTube channel. So, Gen Z are people born from 1997 to 2012. And what this video is going to be about is why Gen Z sucks. Because I've seen a lot of videos about Gen Alpha. Now, I'm 21. I'm like kind of in the middle or more beginning part of Gen Z because I was born in 2002 and I'm a teacher. So I teach Gen Alpha. I have a lot of experience with them. And I just wanted to talk a bit about Gen Z and how we're evolving as a generation. So we kind of started out as a generation that didn't have the type of technology that's present today. Like, we didn't have handheld technology such as iPads or phones. I think the closest thing that we probably had growing up was like iPods for music and computers. Sorry. And computers, which isn't so in your face and it's not as accessible. I remember my first time playing on an iPhone. I was like in the car and my dad's friend had a phone and he gave me a game to play. It was Fruit Ninja. And I was like instantly like, oh my god, like I want this technology. I begged my parents for a phone or an iPad, even like an iPod Touch, whatever, because I just thought that the touch aspect of it was so interesting. So I got an iPad when I was 10, and then I got a phone, which was a touch screen phone, when I was 11. Now, I think the reason I got a phone so young was because I went to school 30 minutes away because I went to a magnet school, but that's besides the point. All that I can remember is that having tech in a transformative year really changed the way that I not only perceived things around me, but perceived myself. And I think that's when a lot of people who belong in Gen Z were introduced to the type of technologies that we have today, such as touchscreen or handheld devices. We were introduced to it in our transformative years of middle school. And I feel like that has just kind of been a whole butterfly effect on how our generation perceives everything in ourselves. So, first of all, the whole thing about social media, I got Instagram when I was like 11. And I was way too young to be having Instagram, but for some reason, it was extremely normal to have Instagram in middle school. Um, it made me like so sad. I was such a happy child, and then I got Instagram and I was like all of a sudden struggling with depression, struggling with anxiety. Um, it could have been a mix of puberty, a mix of puberty and the phone technology, social media being in your face, comparing yourself to other people at school. It is just kind of like a snowball. And I feel like a lot of people in Gen Z can relate. We always talk about how when we were children, that was like the easy times. We played outside and we weren't worried about all of that. And it's true. And it makes me feel bad for kids in Gen Alpha now because they already are exposed to social media, especially TikTok. Not so much Instagram. I know some Gen Alphas have Instagrams. I've seen them because I know my students have it and they have YouTube. But yeah, mainly I feel like Gen Alpha has like YouTube and TikTok. And I feel like TikTok in itself is a really toxic social media site. YouTube, not so much because it's not so like in your face and instantly gratifying as TikTok is. So I don't know. I just feel like when you get social media at a young age, which is what a lot of people in Gen Z have experienced, you kind of like create an online persona of yourself that is kind of like a perfected version of yourself. Like, we all do it unless you have like a Finsta. And then I'm also going to get into talking about like Finsta culture. Um, but yeah, it was just really strange and like it kind of like I feel with young girls, it leads them to over sexualize themselves. Like, think about like how teens in the 90s dress versus teens now. Totally different things, especially on Instagram. Like, I'll be on Instagram and I'll see these young girls posting things that they really should not be posting. Um, Personally, I had really strict parents. Like, my mom had an Instagram that followed me, so I didn't post anything, and I also didn't dress provocatively in the first place. But some people in Gen Z, and I guess Gen Alpha, no, Gen Alpha is too young to be that age, but people in Gen Z in high school, like, with what they post is really crazy. And it makes me sad because when you're in high school, you don't realize how young you are. Like, it's the oldest you've ever been, you know? So you don't realize that you are a child. And I feel like you don't realize that you are a child until you're like in your 20s. And then when you look back on your high school self, you're like, yeah, I was a child. And sometimes that can lead to regret about wanting to act older, and sometimes we feel like we've lost out on our childhood. I think that a lot of people in Gen Z definitely feel that. We're all like this age, we went through a pandemic in our either late teens or early 20s or even like middle teens. A lot of us feel like we've lost out on our childhood, and that's sad. And I think because we feel like we've lost out on a piece of our childhood, that leads to a lack of direction that a lot of us feel. I mean, personally, I just got a pretty good job teaching, but I know like majority of my friends are like, I don't even know like what's going on. Like, I feel like I'm like 18 or 19 still. Like, I don't feel like as old as I am. And that could be a mix of technology, the pandemic, like just overall being disconnected from your community, capitalism. And yeah, I feel like our generation faces a really difficult dilemma that is really unique. Um Another thing I want to talk about is like finstas and oversharing cuz as I said, like our generation feels a really lack of connection. And I think that a lot of us coped with that through social media. And it's almost like Finsta's kind of rejected the concept that we need to be perfect on social media. Like on Finsta's, it's like the freaking opposite end of the spectrum. There's this part of the spectrum where it's like, this is my Instagram and I'm perfect. And this is my bikini photo with my little waist, my big booty, and my hair looks perfect, my face looks perfect. There's that. And then there's the Finsta's where it's like, I'm crying, I hate my life, like the most ugly pictures of us. Like, it's just on one spectrum to the other, and there's like no in between. Like, it's literally like, make Instagram casual again, you know? Um, which, and I think that that whole make Instagram casual again, I feel like that idea is definitely being responded to now, especially when I see like people doing like photo dumps and stuff like that. Um, but then again, like I feel like there's a certain layer to the photo dumps that I'm like, this isn't this isn't casual. Like, it's almost performative. And like, I think our generation is very judgmental. It's like every freaking little thing you do or say is like judge. I remember like being in high school and people I didn't even know existed didn't like me. Why? Because they looked on my freaking Instagram and already made like a preconception about me, and then saw me like do a few things, and then they're like, okay, yeah, don't like the vibes. Like, I hate when people say that. They're like, I just don't like the vibes. Like, no, you looked at someone's Instagram and perceived them, and you don't know that person. And you might have heard like one thing a third party said about them, and then you've already made up your mind. Like, that's the thing about our generation. Like, we're just so quick to judge. So quick to judge. Like, that's really something I don't like. And I feel like a lot of people in our generation, sometimes we feel like We have the right to judge because we have built a huge ego because of social media. Again, like our it's not even just Instagram. Like it's our TikTok personas. Like, have you ever met a TikTok baddie in real life? Have you? Have you ever met a TikTok baddie in real life? It's like it is so difficult to hold a conversation with them because they feel like they're already above you. And then there's also like the aspect of Tinder. Tinder is an interesting conversation. I really, really hate Tinder. Just because of the whole premise of it. Now, like, my uncle met his girl on like Plenty of Fish or whatever, and like good for them, but at the same time, like I don't think like sites like Facebook dating or Plenty of Fish or even like Bumble, I feel like it's or what's the other one? Hinge? Yeah, Hinge. I don't know. Like, I feel like none of those are really on the same level of toxicity as Tinder. Basically, Tinder is like, and yeah, like people meet like great people on Tinder, but at the same time, I'm talking about the algorithm of Tinder that I don't like. It's like, look at these pictures of people, and you're gonna look at them, and you're gonna be like, okay, hot or not, and like be like judging them based off of what they look like. You know, like it's just so shallow. It's so shallow. It's so judgmental. And we built such an ego on it. And then it's like the more matches you get, it's like the more your ego is built because people find you attractive. And like I wonder how people who download Tinder feel who don't get a lot of matches. Like it probably makes you feel bad when it's like it really shouldn't because these are people that are looking at your profile that know absolutely nothing about you. All they see is this external thing that is a reflection of your genetics and it's just so shallow, you know? Um at this point, I just want to move to the country, throw my phone in a fucking lake and strip myself of my ego. That's the point that I get to with this fucking generation. Like I really think that in a perfect world, I would be so happy if I just didn't have a phone and I didn't need a phone. I didn't need to connect to the internet and I could just live in a cabin and be with the people I love and just be myself. I really feel like that's how I'd reach peak happiness, but it's impossible to do that because capitalism, right? And we're just gonna, and as this generation, I don't know how long we're gonna be in this lock of social media. Like, they got us when we were kids. They got me when I was a kid. There's no way I can throw away my phone now. I'm addicted completely. I'm 100% addicted to social media. I'm 100% addicted to the internet, addicted to messaging, addicted to my phone, yada, 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 this, that, and the third. I'm addicted. They got me when I was a kid. And it's just going to keep on getting more addicting and it's going to keep on getting worse because companies profit off of it, such as Apple. Like, that's why if you're ever interested in stock, Apple and just technology companies like Microsoft are some of the best stocks to invest in. Why? Because technology has everybody in a chokehold. Social media has everybody in a chokehold. There is no escaping it. That's why I really like the movie Leave the World Behind. Was it poorly done? 100%. I think that it was so awfully done. Shame to the Obamas for butchering that completely incredible idea. Shame on you. Because it was such an incredible concept, but so poorly executed. There could have been so much more done with that concept. And now I feel like that concept is like already done. And like if someone else does it, they're gonna be like, oh, you're copying Leave the World Behind. But it's like, can someone just please redo that movie? Because the concept of technology and social media and all type of like connection being gone is so interesting to me. I'll make a fucking film about it, I guess. But yeah, I'm coming to the end of my conversation now. I just wanted to talk about it. And if you're still watching and you enjoyed my thoughts, like, subscribe, leave a comment. Thank you for watching.